Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our revision in grade 12 Foundation Omar bin Abdulaziz Independent School for Boys. We are very pleased to introduce a revision for Unit 1 and 2. Today we are going to have a revision about narrative writing. Of course, all of you know that narrative is required for listening, reading and writing in the exam. So we are going to deal with the narrative writing and know what are the details related to narrative writing. First, what is narrative writing? A narrative is a story containing specific elements that work together to create interest for not only the author but also for the reader. This type of writing makes the reader feel as if he or she were part of the story, as if it was being told directly to him or her. Elements of narrative writing. First of the elements is the plot, because the plot is very important for all the narratives. What is plot? The plot is the structure of the events in the narrative. First, we begin with the exposition, second, rising actions, third, the climax, then falling actions, and resolution. By building the narrative, we should put in our mind that we should have a structure for our narrative, not only for writing what happened in the past. Events unfold as they happen. The frame of the narrative is the plot. Second element is the characters. What are the characters? The characters are the people, animals, or inanimate objects, or who are affected by the actions of the plot, or who are the cause of certain events. Characters are real or imaginative, should be brought to life through the narrative. If a character is not described well, the story will not be believable. What are the other elements of a narrative? Of course, it will be the setting. The setting is where and when the narrative takes place. This setting allows the reader to visualize the scenes and the characters in those scenes. Although the setting may be clear for the author, he or she must create a picture for the readers. The conflict will be next for the elements of a narrative writing. The conflict is the problem that may be overcome or resolved so that the readers will not be left hanging. Second of the narrative writing is the narrative techniques. Narrative techniques, what are they? They are techniques that are used by the writers to make their stories more interesting and enjoyable. First technique that the writer should use, type of narration. The type of narration, for example, the first person narration is a limited information. The writer or the author uses I, me, my, mine. I waited until he told me that he would consider my application. This is an example for using first person narration. Third person, unlimited information or omniscient. The omniscient we use he, him, his, she, her, hers, they, them, their, theirs, all of these pronouns to reflect or describe the other characters. And for an example, when he arrived at the airport, his friends were waiting for him. They looked at him in silence as they could not believe their eyes that their friend was back. He gave each one of them a watch as they were driving home. Second technique, detailing and sequencing events. By using linking words and phrases such as first, then, after that, next, after a while, suddenly, when, while, and so on. All of these linking words gives details for the story, and if you can describe your story with details, you are giving a good picture and describing well so the reader will enjoy your story. Third technique, direct and indirect speech. Using direct and indirect speech gives the story life and provides information about the characters. For example, their attitude, points of view, tone, formal or informal way of speaking. For example, I might go to the cinema, he said. Or he said he might go to the cinema. Fourth technique, flashback narration. Flashback narration is jumping backwards and forwards between events to provide background information through characters' memories and try to join these memories with the events in the story. Fifth technique is cliffhanger. Ending a section of a text or a chapter with an exciting cliffhanger leaves the reader with a desire to know what will happen next. Sixth technique, figurative language. Of course, using figurative language makes your story interesting, enjoyable, and makes it pleasant for the reader to continue reading your story if he finds similes, metaphors, onomatopoeia, personification, hyperbole, and so on. For similes, comparing two people or things using like or as. For example, her eyes twinkled like stars. He fights like a lion. Metaphors, comparing two things to each other by drawing a verbal picture. Her eyes were stars. He was a lion without using as or like. Onomatopoeia, the use of words to describe natural sounds. Splash, snap, buzz, hiss, squeak, like that. Personification, an inanimate object or abstraction is given human qualities or abilities. The dancing walls made him unable to move out of his bed. The wind sang through the meadow. Hyperbole is an action or quality that is impossible to happen. I am hungry, I can eat a horse. And of course, nobody can eat a horse. Thank you for now, and we are very pleased to introduce such a narrative for you. Thank you, and goodbye.